Austria-Hungary was one of the strangest great powers in modern European history. It looked like an empire on the map, but inside it was really a carefully balanced partnership between two states. From 1867 to 1918, Austria and Hungary shared one monarch, one foreign policy, and one military command, but they kept separate governments, parliaments, laws, and political identities. The ruler was not simply an emperor. He was Emperor of Austria and Apostolic King of Hungary at the same time. That detail matters, because the whole system depended on titles, legal traditions, and compromise. Austria-Hungary was not held together by a single national identity. It was held together by dynasty, strategic fear, and the belief that cooperation was safer than separation. The roots of the dual monarchy go back to the older Habsburg monarchy, a vast collection of territories accumulated over centuries. These lands were diverse in language, religion, economy, and political tradition. Hungary was especially difficult to absorb into a centralized empire because it had its own historic kingdom, noble class, and constitutional memory. Hungarians did not see themselves as just another province ruled from Vienna. They repeatedly resisted Habsburg control, including during Rákóczi's War of Independence in the early 18th century and the Revolution of 1848 to 1849. Those conflicts showed that the Habsburgs could defeat Hungary militarily, but they could not erase its political identity. By the 19th century, the monarchy faced a basic question: could it survive by force alone, or did it need a new bargain? The answer came after a major defeat. In 1866, Austria lost the Austro-Prussian War, which shattered its influence over German affairs and strengthened Prussia's path toward creating a German empire. For Vienna, the defeat was humiliating and dangerous. A weakened Austria could not afford permanent instability inside its own borders. Hungarian elites recognized this and pressed for constitutional recognition. The result was the Austro-Hungarian Compromise of 1867. It transformed the Austrian Empire into Austria-Hungary, a dual monarchy. The Austrian half was often called Cisleithania, while the Hungarian half was called Transleithania. These names came from geography, but politically they meant something much larger: two halves of one imperial structure, each claiming dignity, authority, and legal equality. The new system was precise but awkward. Austria and Hungary were co-equal partners under the same ruler, but they did not merge into one ordinary state. Each half had its own parliament and domestic administration. What they shared were the things considered essential for great power survival: foreign affairs, defense, and the financing of those common ministries. This meant Austria-Hungary could negotiate treaties, maintain embassies, and fight wars as one power, but its internal politics remained divided. Even money for shared institutions required bargaining. The arrangement worked because both Austrian and Hungarian elites saw benefits in it. Austria regained internal stability after defeat, while Hungary gained recognition and autonomy. But the empire's unity depended on continuous negotiation, not simple national loyalty. The compromise solved the Hungarian question only by exposing an even larger problem. Austria-Hungary was not populated only by Austrians and Hungarians. It included Czechs, Slovaks, Poles, Ruthenians, Croats, Serbs, Romanians, Slovenes, Italians, Germans, Magyars, and others. Many of these peoples wanted language rights, autonomy, or recognition of their own national claims. Yet the dual system gave special status to Austria and Hungary, not to every nationality. In the Hungarian half, Magyar political leaders often resisted reforms that would weaken their control over non-Hungarian populations. In the Austrian half, Czechs and other groups pushed for more influence. So the empire was not simply collapsing from day one, but it carried a permanent tension. Its structure was dynastic and constitutional, while its people increasingly thought in national terms. Despite these tensions, Austria-Hungary was not a weak or irrelevant state. It was one of Europe's major powers, the second largest country in Europe by area after Russia, and the third most populous after Russia and the German Empire. Its economy was uneven, but parts of it were highly industrialized. The empire developed the fourth largest machine-building industry in the world, and cities such as Vienna, Budapest, Prague, and Trieste became important centers of culture, administration, trade, and industry. Railways, factories, banks, and universities helped modernize the region. This is why Austria-Hungary should not be remembered only as a doomed relic. It was a functioning great power. Its problem was that modernization strengthened both the empire and the national movements that challenged it. Croatia-Slavonia shows how complicated the empire's internal structure could become. It belonged to the Hungarian crown, but after the Croatian-Hungarian settlement of 1868, it received a limited form of autonomy. This was typical of Austria-Hungary. Instead of one clean constitutional design, it relied on layered agreements, special statuses, and negotiated exceptions. Bosnia and Herzegovina added another layer. After 1878, Austria-Hungary administered Bosnia under joint military and civilian rule. This territory did not fit neatly into either the Austrian or Hungarian half, so it became a shared imperial responsibility. Bosnia mattered because it placed the empire deeper into the Balkans, where Ottoman decline, Serbian ambition, South Slavic nationalism, and great power rivalry overlapped. What looked like strategic expansion also increased the empire's exposure to crisis. In 1908, Austria-Hungary fully annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina, triggering the Bosnian crisis. Serbia was furious, because many Serbian nationalists saw Bosnia's South Slavic population as part of a broader Serbian or South Slavic future. Russia, weakened but still concerned with Slavic interests and Balkan influence, also opposed the move. Austria-Hungary had gained territory, but it had also intensified hostility. The empire feared that Serbia could become a magnet for South Slavs living inside Habsburg borders. That fear encouraged a harder line against Serbia. But the harder the monarchy pushed, the more Serbian resentment grew. The Balkans became a place where Austria-Hungary's internal national anxieties and external security policy fed into each other. This made every crisis more dangerous than the last. The spark came in Sarajevo in June 1914, when Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Habsburg throne, was assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist. Austria-Hungary saw the killing not only as a murder, but as a direct challenge to imperial survival. If Serbia could encourage or shelter anti-Habsburg nationalism, then the monarchy's authority in the Balkans, and perhaps among its own South Slavs, might unravel. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. The empire hoped for a limited conflict, but Europe's alliance system turned a regional war into a world war. Germany backed Austria-Hungary. Russia supported Serbia. France was tied to Russia. Britain entered after Germany's invasion of Belgium. A crisis born in the Balkans became World War I. World War I placed unbearable pressure on the dual monarchy. Austria-Hungary had to fight Serbia, Russia, and later Italy, while also maintaining food supplies, transport networks, industrial production, and public loyalty across a divided society. The army suffered enormous losses, and civilians faced shortages and hardship. As the war dragged on, national movements became bolder. Czechs, South Slavs, Poles, Romanians, and others increasingly looked beyond the Habsburg framework. The dual system made reform difficult because any major restructuring threatened the balance between Austria and Hungary. Emperor Charles, who succeeded Franz Joseph in 1916, explored peace and reform, but he inherited a state already weakened by war, hunger, and distrust. The empire needed deep transformation, but the war left no time for it. By 1918, Austria-Hungary was dissolving before the armistice was even signed. National councils formed, and new political projects moved quickly. Czechs and Slovaks pushed toward Czechoslovakia. South Slavs moved toward what became Yugoslavia. Poland re-emerged. Romania and Italy pressed territorial claims. Hungary terminated the union with Austria, destroying the core mechanism of the dual monarchy. On November 3, 1918, Austro-Hungarian military authorities signed the Armistice of Villa Giusti, but the state behind that signature was already breaking apart. The First Austrian Republic and the Kingdom of Hungary became successors to parts of the old system, while the victorious powers recognized new states and new borders. The imperial map vanished, but many minority problems remained. Austria-Hungary's legacy is complicated because it was both impressive and fragile. It connected many peoples, cities, and economies under one dynasty, and for decades it remained a real European great power. Yet its central compromise privileged two political partners while leaving many other national groups dissatisfied. The empire survived by balancing monarchy, law, military necessity, and elite negotiation. But nationalism, Balkan rivalry, and total war made that balance impossible to maintain. Its fall was not caused by one event alone. The Sarajevo assassination mattered, but so did the 1867 compromise, the unresolved national questions, the Bosnian crisis, and the exhaustion of World War I. Austria-Hungary was not just an empire that collapsed. It was a political experiment that worked long enough to shape Central Europe, then failed when the pressures became too great. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.